Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Talking Wednesday podcast, your place for all the Sheffield Wednesday news, topic of discussion, and basically anything to do with football now. We're chucking it in this podcast, but it is obviously very much Wednesday focused, a very big news week for Sheffield Wednesday as well. I hope this finds you well. I'm Dexterity Box, joined by Jake PunkChef41. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. Some housekeeping. Go on.
I said good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah.
You see, it's time in the podcast before it even goes now.
Yeah.
So, wherever you listen to this, I hope it finds you well. Just a little bit of housekeeping this week. The reviews are still really important to us. We have got a very successful YouTube following now. We love that. Thank you so much.
Much
The views are incredible. We won't keep talking about that one. We just want to let you know that it's not going unnoticed. We do want to pull up our reviews on the audio services. And to do that, and as a bit of encouragement, we are going to read out our reviews that we get. We're going to try and make sure that you get a shout out for leaving us a review if you've left us a word of review. We've had 11 reviews so far on the Apple Podcasts app, which is great for 5 episodes in, obviously this being the 6th. We've had 5 written reviews, so we're just going to go and read those today, give you a shout out for leaving us a nice review. So the perk is, if you leave us a nice review, you get a quick little shout out and your review read, as long as it's not an absolute essay. We will read it at the start of the podcast. Just while we are building our profile, we want to give you guys some shout outs basically for helping us out, because the reviews are massive.
We much appreciate it.
Exactly. We've been around for 5 weeks. We've been around for 5 weeks. We've not got that much of a Google audio presence or a Twitter presence, but the YouTube presence, it's night and day. We've got a massive YouTube presence, but we're trying to build it up everywhere else. So let's just start with a username that says put PSN1 on. Right?
I like that.
Okay, put PSN1 on. Fair play. It says, love this podcast is the headline. This podcast is amazing. I would recommend it. Involves the subscribers and it helps people learn more about football. Lovely review. Thank you very much for that one. The next one is from Gypsy Moose. Interesting. An interesting name. I didn't name it. Good listening, easy to listen to and relate to, insightful and fun. Very nice review there. And these are all 5 stars, obviously. We're only reading the 5 stars.
Yeah.
There's only 5 stars on there at the minute, so that's a testament to how awesome you guys are. JLo618, brilliant, cracking job, lads. Worth a listen for any Wednesday fan out there. The next one is from Student Bob. Top podcast, thoughtful discussion with excellent content and nice balance between the 2 presenters. Like that one.
Thank you very much.
The balance is there. I mean, when Jake can pronounce names. Novelty Island is the next review. Wednesday winner. Great new pod. Enjoying the content very much. Keep up the good work. So they are our written reviews on there. We are going to go and look at Podchaser, Podtail, things like that. All the other ones, we are going to try and keep an eye on them. But we're going to try and read as many reviews a week as we can. So keep them coming. If you've not already reviewed the podcast, go and leave us a nice review and we will read it out on the podcast and give you guys your credit where it's due.
And we much appreciate it, because starting podcasts ain't easy.
No, very much so. So we're going to start this week talking about the football, talking about the recent football. Just a quick heads up, we are recording this before the Birmingham match, but we've got a way around it this time. I am streaming Dexterity Watch for it, but afterwards, when we'd usually record the podcast, can't do it straight afterwards, so we are going to actually include our mini reviews that we send off to, like, when little bits of radio and other podcasts ask us to clip in. We're going to clip that in, and we're also going to make it a little bit more personal for you guys. So we'll start with Stoke, but when it gets to the Birmingham bit, you're going to meet future us, and we will talk about the Birmingham one and then get back to the podcast. So, Stoke City, and not a cold rainy, it wasn't a rainy night at all, but it was a night in Stoke. What were your thoughts on a Tuesday? What was the thought?
It was a bit of a boring game. It was a bit of a stalemate of a game.
Understatement.
I don't want to use the word, but we looked leggy. We didn't look great. And of course,
he didn't use it in fairness. I've been saying Neil Thompson's been using the word leggy way too much. He's listening. He didn't use the word leggy after that one.
But it was one of those things, and you always knew the bloke who was going to go, it was going to be Stephen Fletcher. And I was really annoyed that he celebrated, just because there's no fans there. You're celebrating to nothing. at one point in your Wednesday career, you said, I'd like to end my career at Wednesday, and then you went to Stoke. So
it just shows where he's at, really, doesn't it? It just shows the kind of guy he is, because, right, I've got nothing against... I genuinely don't as well. I don't have anything against players celebrating against the former clubs, winding up the fans, things like that. But with Fletcher, it didn't make much sense, right? Because he always talked about how he was going to sign a new contract with us. Yeah. He did us dirty when we were in a crap position, right? And then he scores a goal. He celebrates when there's no fans in the stadium, as you said, or the only people who are there are his former teammates and his former coaching staff. And then at the end of the match, is all pally with them. That's what got me. I was like, surely, mate, it's one or the other, right? You're pally with everybody, and you sort of are respectful because there's not many people in the ground, and the only people you're disrespecting are your former teammates, and you know. So for me, it was a weird one that he celebrated. I don't really care. Stephen Fletcher's always going to score.
It was a scrappy goal as well, let's be honest.
It was a scrappy goal. We've got our own scrappy goal merchant in Patterson now, though. So you know, I thought there was nothing really in the game.
You mean Big P?
Big P. I'm really sorry for that. That's something that's apparently sticking on now and catching on. So if Big P becomes a thing, the Talking Wednesday podcast have started a nightmare there. Apologies.
The part of me that would love to see the WhatsApp messages between Barry Bannan and Stephen Fletcher, because they're really good mates, after the game, just to see what Barry Bannan said.
It would be interesting, because you talk about loyalty, and you talk about Stephen Fletcher and Barry Bannan, and you talk about one person backing it up, as we'll talk about in a little while, and then Stephen Fletcher going where the money is. He's the kind of guy that took pictures next to his Lamborghini, so I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting
he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. When I remember he got so much stick for that, and I get it. You've earned your money, but coming to Wednesday, he was one of the players on 40 grand a week, and yeah, I just thought it was a little bit classless from him. However, we didn't deserve to win the game. Stoke didn't deserve to win the game either.
But
that match.
It was that typical thing. It's a team coming to Wednesday low on form. Or going to them, should I say. We are this team. If you are on bad form, give us a call. We'll play you. You'll get you for 3 points. And then we can go back to complaining about it as Wednesday fans do. Because at the minute, if you are out of form, play us. You'll get your form back, because we just seem to be that team that can make a team look really good.
Yeah. No, and it's neither team looked great. It was a horrible watch. I was streaming, as if you don't know this, if you're just a fan of the podcast, I do stream most matches with Dexterity Watch, and we sit and have a chat.
Weren't we talking about hairstyles at one point?
Yeah, we got into so many topics because the football was just hoof in the middle of the park. That's all it was all the way through. The reason no team deserved to win is because there was nothing really.
No.
Right? We had like 1-2 decent attempts, but the rest of it, we couldn't get it out of possession. They couldn't get it out of possession. It was just scrappy. I said on the stream, it was like 2 Tony Pulis sides.
Yeah, you did.
You know?
Just remember that.
Battling each other out.
Yeah.
Why, when both of them have had Tony Pulis in the past, but neither have anymore, but they were both Pulis-style teams.
To be fair, it was probably like a Steve Bruce, Tony Pulis, because they're both very similar tactics.
I did say that we are going to see the interesting side of when Patterson and Rhodes doesn't work up front, because you've not got the pace there. And I've been saying for a little while, we got asked last week in the community, should someone different start up against him? Is Rhodes going to be that main man? And I feel like for teams like Stoke, where we needed to work the way around the back of them, I think we should have started someone pacey with Patterson or Rhodes. I think for a physical game like Wickham was, that worked nicely, Patterson and Rhodes together, but I think it probably needed a change a little bit earlier on. In fairness to Neil, he did try and change it up. Yeah. It just didn't work.
Well, it's interesting today that it come out about Windaf being frustrated about game time. And I was speaking to a mate of mine who's a Rangers fan. And he said he was like that up there. Whenever he wasn't playing, he was frustrated. And he kind of took his stuff home and just kind of down tools a little bit. I hope that's not the case, because on his day, and I'll admit it, he's fast. I got stick for that last time. But on his day, he can change things up. But I want that frustration to come out as hunger to get back in the team, not I'm going to just not bother if I'm not getting in, if you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I get you.
Because I seen Kachunga had that, but Kachunga, when he comes on, he works hard. And I think there's a lot of stuff Kachunga does. People are not watching, or they're not watching week in, week out, and see what he does when he comes on, because he does make a difference. The one thing I have
noticed, especially, is, and also, nobody has to watch every game to have an opinion. They've just got to realise that they've got to step back a little bit when they're basing their opinions off watching the odd match here and there. Because it's like the Joey Pilipesi situation all over. You watch the progression in a player. All it takes is somebody who's watched like 2 matches, or when we're on Sky or something like that, to go, well, I've watched him, he's crap. Yes, I agree, I've watched those matches too. Yeah. But I've also seen the bits that don't end up in the highlight packages after the match and things like that. To be fair,
we got some pelter for saying about Pilipesi.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we don't know what we're talking about. You don't watch him. It's like, okay.
No, we do. That's the reason we can say there's been progression in a player. You know, somebody who's actually sticking... Well, actually, Pelopessi's contract's up, so he might not even have Pelopessi at the end of the season. But yeah, we're going to move on to Birmingham now. So future James and Jake, take it away. Future James here. For those who follow me on Twitter and have read the community tab post, I'm not reviewing the game today. Thought I'd mention it in the podcast. Haven't been able to watch it. It is a loss. It is a sure red card. It is a lot of drama. But I've... got some circumstances that I've got to deal with today. As some of you know, go check the socials if you haven't. So I'm going to hand this one over to Punk, who we all know is the master of a post-match review.
So I'm just coming off the back of the Birmingham game, and it's not great for us. In the first half, we have a couple of chances and we try to get things going, but nothing really properly thick for us. And it's one of those games where you're looking at it, you're thinking, are we going to get anything from this? Can we get forward? Can we try and make something thick? Liam Shaw gets a yellow card, and it's quite unjust, to be fair, but it is what it is. And we're trying to make things thick and trying to pass the ball well. We have a fair bit of possession, but we don't keep it that well. And it's that whole long hoof ball that we've done every game so far. Hit it long and hope. Hit it long and hope. And it's just getting boring. Long throws into the box, straight to the keeper's hands, or it cleared away. And it's just not working. So that was the first half in its general, really. And then in the second half, this is where it gets really interesting for the second half. Liam Shaw goes in recklessly, and it's a second yellow. He does win the ball, but he goes in with his studs showing, and he's done this before in the past. It's second yellow, and it's a red card for down 10 men, and that then gives them the license to go on and attack us a lot more. And they do that, and they go and get a goal, and it's pretty poor defending by us, but it's 1-0. And this is not what you want to be doing against your relegation rivals. Let's remember, before the game, they were in the relegation spot. And we go and try everything. We throw the kitchen sink at it. We get attacking players on. The best chance we have for the rest of the game is right near the end with Jordan Rhodes, pretty much. It's a fantastic save by Everington. And we have corners going, and it just doesn't stick. It's just not there. And again, it's another team that hasn't won in ages. They get the 1-0 win at Hillsborough, and we lose. This was the game we desperately needed to win. I am very worried now about where we'll finish in the table now. I have seen something that says that we'll finish in 16th or 17th. I'm not sure about that yet. We're on 28 points. There's still a couple of games left to play. Well, there's a lot of games to play, but with how we keep playing at times, you don't feel like it's going to happen. But that's the goal line for the Birmingham City game. 1-0 Birmingham City, and yeah, we got to try and dig ourselves out of this now.
Thank you very much, future James and Jake, for reviewing that. Are we happy? Are we sad? We will find out. But let's talk about some happy news. We're going to start with the top story. There's a couple of top stories this week that could have fought it out. But I think this one, if you actually look at it on the whole, is the bigger one. If you go to the actual meaning of the club, Barry Bannan has signed a new deal to 2023. So he'll be at the club to at least 2023. Obviously, we've got another big one about a player leaving. But I think this one, being our captain, being somebody who's going to be around for us, deserve the top spot on the news this week on Talking Wednesday. And as Zaxter says on YouTube, Zaxter55, he writes in and says, will we build a statue of the wee Scottish man outside the grounds? So that's where some of the fans are at. However, it's not where all of the fans are at the minute.
To be fair, it'll add a lot of height for him, so we'll be happy about it.
He'll do what, sorry?
It'll add a lot of hype to him, so he'll be really happy about that.
Oh, yeah, he did make a reference to his height in his interview. So we're going to jump in to the interview with Barry Bannan. I've paraphrased it here a little bit, so we'll just read that one out. So when asked about his reasoning, he talks about the fans, crucial time for the club and moving to Sheffield. He acknowledges that people on the outside would perhaps wonder why he signed a new deal given the club's current circumstances, when he could go and play elsewhere quite easily. But he explains his commitment to the club and the captaincy. He's 31 now. He came to Wednesday at 25, so that's 6 years playing for Wednesday, which is a big chunk of his career.
Yeah.
That's a massive chunk. He's still committed to seeing us reach the very top, despite admitting it seems we're miles away from it at the current moment. And I mean, he's spot on there, really. His family's settled up here now. He's finally moved from Birmingham. I mean, he's been here since he was 25, but he's only just moved up. Kids are settled and all that. Interesting that he explains that he was committed to the club even without the captaincy when asked, because of the revival that Wednesday played of his career. We played a massive part in reviving his career. So I thought that was the interesting moments from the interview, talking about his settled up here, things like that. And the fact that the captaincy wasn't a part of it. It did play a part in it, but it wasn't. He was already committed before the captaincy. I just think I've seen some comments, as you usually do, and I even saw on your channel some people that I know on my channel. So some of you guys watching this saying that we should have kept Shaw, as we'll talk about later on, and got rid of Bannan and things like. And I couldn't disagree more in terms of a captain that makes something happen, especially with this commitment in a relegation battle. This, for me, is the best bit of business we've done in a while. Yeah,
and for me, it's when we were talking about the whole Fletcher thing beforehand, it screams of loyalty. This is a player who wasn't nowhere near anyone's team at the time. A lot of people were like, is he going to even get that chance? It was looking like for him, football might be lower than the Championship at one point. There were talk about him going to League One and stuff. And I like the fact that Barry Bannan had gone and been pretty much outright gone, yeah, we're not in a great position. But also, I love that he's saying, I will get this team to the Premiership. He wants this team in the Premiership. He's obviously got...
Well, he said Premier League, which is the correct terminology.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We grew up with Premiership still. Yeah. It annoys people. I thought I'd point it out. It annoys people every podcast when we say Premiership, but it's a slip-in, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, he does want us there.
But it's that thing. You've got a player here who... I don't get the people say you should leave. So when we don't have Barry Bannan in the team, we're not that great. We do struggle. And he does. And I'll admit, at the start of the season, I was a little bit critical about him having the captain's armband. I thought he was a little bit too shouty, not putting arm around. But I think the position within, and I think him as a person had gone, no, I need to step up now and put that. And you've seen that he's not shouting as much. He's actually going to the younger player, going, right, it's all right, get going, like you're the motivation that you want from your captain.
For me, this is the prime example of what a captain should do in this situation. He sees a ship sinking, and rather than jumping off, he goes, I'm going to steady this.
Exactly.
That is what a captain should do. And yet he's become more vocal. He's not just shouting. He's got a different composure to him. I think one thing that gets lost about Barry Bannan is we talk about his through balls that lead to the goals, but what a lot of the highlight packages don't pick up, because I do study them as well as watching the matches just to see what people who are just watching those clip outs and things would see what Sheffield Wednesday have, because I like to see both sides.
I like his defensive work.
He's pretty much box to box. That's what he is. But also, you miss the amount of amazing through balls he creates that don't lead to anything, right? Because that is not his job to be on the end of the through balls. But he'll play something from deep in our half, get it to one of the forwards, and then he'll leg it, and he'll be ready to receive the pass from that forward he has given it to. He is the player. He's the engine making it all happen. And the fact that some people would say we'd be better off getting rid of players like Bannan and rebuild, I'm like, how are we going to, for the finances, get a player that is the quality of Barry Bannan, a younger version, and build from it when we've got someone who's 31, has still got a couple of years at this level at least? You know, he'll probably have to drop down, or he wants to finish his career here. I could see it happening. He'd probably become a squad player in a couple of years, in fairness.
Yeah.
But He's still in a situation where lower end of the championship, he can make things happen. I could have seen him going to one of the top 10 clubs, one of the top 6 clubs.
He was meant to go to Brentford at one point, wasn't he?
Brentford were interested in
They
him.
were interested and we turned it down. And the other thing people don't see about Barry Bannan is the moment that ball's lost, he's the one player that you watch and he's running his backside off to try and close it down, win it back. And then you'll have it where he'll close down the keeper. And then you see him running straight back because you want to try and get the ball back. And that's the commitment we don't have.
No, exactly.
And that's really good for young players to see coming through, going, this is what you've got to do. And it's not, I don't want to use the word yet, but he will become one of those legendary players to some people in this squad. He's not there yet, but he's on that level for me.
It's one of those where it's always hard to admit, and we have to be realists as Wednesday fans, as a lot of us often aren't, because as soon as we go on a good run, we're getting promoted and we're winning the league.
Yeah.
But and I'm the same. I love drinking the we're going up juice, but like we have to remember that there's been more and more disrespect on the badge of Sheffield Wednesday for a long time. Yeah. And as time goes on, there's younger players going up who have only ever seen that disrespect. They have not seen the power and the size. There's players coming to the club going, I didn't realise how big it was, and I didn't realise the support and things like that. And I'm like, growing up, I wouldn't have heard any different to, even though they're not the best at the minute, Sheffield Wednesday are a massive club, sleeping giant, all of that. Now that's less and less and less because the time passes and that's what happens. And even though I was probably the last of the generation to be growing up with people who were like, we are going to get back on top in about 5 years. Yeah. Everything was like, we're in League One now, James, your first ever match, but trust me, we'll be back at the top soon, And that was because it was a distant thing with the 90s. But as we get further away from the 90s, it's going to be a case if you've got players who are coming up who are 19, 20, who have only ever seen us poor, and I've only ever seen us poor, but I've kind of in that sweet spot of knowing that we were on the precipice of something.
Yeah. And
Barry Bannan will ground players that have got that, which currently are coming into the club and can't see what's going on. There's no fans in the stadium. All they're seeing is the toxic abuse that we can sometimes have on Twitter. And Barry Bannan will offer a different perspective on that. And the loyalty is shown. I think it's going to be more of a statement, if anything else.
Yeah. And the other thing is, he's the kind of person, because he club clapped and you want him to welcome players. But I want him to do what Megson did when players came up. He used to just take them at the back of the cop and say, imagine them screaming your name.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Megson used to take them to the back of the cop and say, imagine this place rocking and it's screaming your name and you're on top.
Well, Barry Bannan even said how important it was. He got a song about him and stuff like that. Yeah. And the way it makes you feel.
It's a huge deal.
I am glad that he's managed to separate himself. I'm glad he's managed to separate the abuse from the actual. There's a big part of that. It's the majority of the fan base respects what Barry Bannan's done for us and but there is obviously we always look for a scapegoat, and if things aren't going well, we look for things to blame. And once we've done blaming Chansiri, we look to try and scapegoat our players that have been in the squad the longest. Right, we were crying out for Stephen Fletcher to stay, but we're actually giving grief to Barry Bannan who stayed. Do you know? Yeah. And I'm just sort of like. He's just signed a new contract, so I think he's the right man to captain this ship and hopefully get it steadied. If you are looking at an example of loyalty to a club, Barry Bannan has shown that he is that man. Yeah. One man who potentially hasn't shown that sort of loyalty as Barry Bannan signs a new contract is quite obviously a fiery one, this one. And welcome to our Celtic viewers who have found the channel recently in our video on that. Liam Shaw has reportedly agreed that pre-contract agreement with Celtic and will become a Celtic player come the end of the season. Wednesday will be due around £300,000 in compensation. So if you look at potential for players, especially players who've had some championship minutes, that's nothing now.
No.
The Star also reported that Poulis said that there was Premier League interest, originally wouldn't say what. It's worth pointing out that he had options in that regard. There was interest in him. And they also reported that at the time of this move and currently, Shaw is committed to helping Wednesday survive this season. Interestingly, There's still some controversy over whether it's actually happening. I think it is. It's pretty obvious, but I think Bannon's trying to keep the team together because Bannan came out and said, I can only speak for myself. I don't really want to get involved with other people. I don't think it's done. So there's a potential that the players don't even know and Shaw's not spoken to him about it, but I think it is done and they're trying to downplay it, in my opinion, on that one.
And to be fair, Celtic has actually come out and said in an interview on Wednesday about it being pretty much done.
Yeah, so Neil Lennon has confirmed it. He said that we've done that, moving on to the next one sort of thing. Right, I'm just going to throw this one over to you, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on it. So what is your opinion on it? Even if you've got a vibe of what mine might be, it doesn't have to be the same. We can disagree. Go for it.
I got a thing. I think the abuse he's getting for signing it is a bit stupid. Yes, he's a Wednesday fan. Yes, you want Wednesday fan to sign for the boyhood club, but I'm thinking in terms of him as a player further down the line. He may not get this opportunity to go to somewhere like Celtic. And you look what Celtic's done in the past with young players. They go on for big money, which will be annoying for us because we won't get that money. That pre-contract kind of thing, that's all the money we'll get. But I'm thinking of it as a player point of view. It's a big move for him. It's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity for him to play at a different level and maybe play some European football. I still think we should still play him kind of thing. I don't want to have that, you can't play because you've not signed with us. But then again, like Dex said, it's a done deal pretty much. I can't see it changing. But if it does changes, some
Let's
fans
not even talk about it changing. It's done.
Yeah.
So we're going off that perspective.
So for me, I just say good luck to him. It's a shame he couldn't see himself at Wednesday for this, but good luck to him. I hope he had a good career.
Right, we're going to disagree for the first time massively on this podcast. I respect, and I have said publicly, do not abuse him on Twitter. Don't be an idiot. I draw the lines at any form of abuse, any indirect or direct abuse. Doesn't need it. Shouldn't be having it. End of. I put a poll out, and we'll talk about the poll, because my main question is not about the move, but does he deserve, the way this has gone down, despite him being willing to stay and fight for the club, does he deserve to pull on that Sheffield Wednesday shirt again this season? Right?
Yeah.
I don't think he does. And it's not because I don't wish him well and all of that. I do think some of it's been a little bit sad going, oh, he's only doing what's best for him, all of this, you do this. I genuinely don't think at 19 years old as a footballer, and I'm not a footballer at 19 years old, but if I was in that situation playing for my boyhood club, I don't think I'd jump ship this early in this situation, unless I could see behind the scenes that something massively was wrong at the club. And I was thinking I'll come back later down the line, and Celtic is a great move. I'm not putting any shade on Celtic, by the way. I understand why he has made this move. I understand why Celtic would come in for him. In fairness, we've only seen, he's played 16 matches?
Yeah.
And he's most of them were sub-appearances, only started a few times for us. When he played Stoke as well, after when all this kicked off, he was awful that match.
Yeah, he was bad.
Absolutely awful. Couldn't string passes together. So it's a case of, in my opinion, I don't think he's there. I don't think his head's there. And if his head's there, he shouldn't be pulling on that Wednesday shirt. Let alone the fact that there's thousands of Wednesday fans that, if they were footballers, would want to play for the club. Look at Barry Bannan, who's just signed a new contract. For me, and I think this would be really bad from Celtic's point of view, and I don't think this would be a great thing if we did that for them, I'm putting him with the 23s for the rest of the season and focus on players that are going to be here and build on it. Because the fact he has agreed so early on in the season, we've still got players with contracts running out, right? But they haven't done any pre-contract stuff yet. None of that's been reported. As soon as that gets reported, we'll be talking about it. Liam Shaw has spoken about it as early as January, and he's gone in February when we're still in this. I don't care if he's willing to survive the battle, the relegation battle, and put it in for us. He knows he's got a cushy Champions League, Europa League club to go to and try and break his way into there. So in my opinion, he doesn't deserve to pull on the Wednesday shirt. I think he will, though. I think that looking at the squad depth, he'll play him, even though I would rather see someone like Deli Basharu get the place now.
Which is really weird, because I want to see more of Deli Basharu, because I think he got something to him and we've not seen anything from him yet.
No, exactly. I also understand that We've had 305 votes on our community poll. I said Liam Shaw has signed for Celtic. He's apparently committed to helping Wednesday survive this season. For you, does he get to play for Wednesday again? Now, this was split, but it fell in your favour of he should be playing for us this season. And I understand there's probably going to be a bit of heat from this. It's a very divisive topic. I am not expecting it to not be. But 305 votes, 58% have swung yes, he should play for us, 42% have swung no. So in our community especially as well, they're swinging against my view there. However, looking at it, I thought, if he plays like he did against Stoke, that is the idea of and nobody was great at Stoke, right? But everybody was, for some reason, Shaw's become the best player ever when he's not played for us that much. And I think it's because of the speculation.
And I think that's the weird thing, because people going, oh, they've seen 15 games of him. How can they make a judgment? It's like, they'll look out at him for a while.
No, exactly.
And this is the thing, people like, they've seen 15, we don't know how long they've had their eye on him. It could be that they've had their eye on him and they may have been already going to get him at this point anyway, if he hadn't gone to the first team anyway. It just happened to be that we've had a big injury crisis at times and we needed some players out the youth academy to play. And he just had his chance.
I am struggling, right? I am struggling with the people fishing. And I think they either genuinely mean this or they're fishing for likes. The people that are going, oh, well, we can't even blame the lad. And it's obviously a lot of people want to look at the state of the club and the management. And yes, Bannan and him are at different points of the career. They can see what's going on behind it. But it's weird that we can tie down Bannan, who's been with us for 6 years and is our captain, who could go somewhere else and actually is more proven, you know, to actually go off and do something. And we've signed him, yet a supposed lifelong Wednesday fan at 19, when he could have just signed a year's extension and see how it went, you know, with clauses in the contract. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that as a Wednesday fan.
When you think about the stuff we've done in the past with Hurst and Sean Clare, it's because we put really bad offers in terms of money to them.
That's
so it
the only
makes
thing
me
I'm
wonder,
thinking.
have we put another bad offer in terms of wages? And obviously, Celtic are going to blow whatever we can give to them out the water.
Completely.
Really.
Yeah, so, and it's not like it's, even though Celtic, I was speaking to some of the fans about it because I wanted their insight and what they thought. They've heard nothing about him really, and they're asking us all the questions. We don't know enough. That's our honest opinion to you. That's not because he's leaving us. I've been saying it all along. We have not seen him enough to give an actual... That's the thing that's frustrating me about everybody running to his defence, going like, oh, well... Anybody would think he's just done a testimonial for us and he's done so much for us and now he's going on a free, right? And it's like, oh, well, he's done his best for us. You know what? No hard feelings. Off you go. That is what it feels like on half of social media at the minute. For me, I'm like, come on. He's played like 16 times, including sub appearances, not being consistent, had some great matches and shown a lot of potential. And he's off at the first sniff of interest when times get bad at Sheffield Wednesday. For me, that's not what a lifelong Sheffield Wednesday fan does. I'm sorry.
I know what you mean. And for us, this is perfect because we rarely have a heated debate going on.
No, I know. It's just
this is lovely.
Should I put heated in the title? Should we full on go for it? But no, I'm saying it from a perspective of we're both obviously lifelong Sheffield Wednesday fans, right? And I understand money is a thing. I understand the Celtic link's a thing. I also understand the move.
We can see both sides. This is the thing. We both... Because I got my side in this pod, but I'm listening to him. I can understand his side as well, going, yeah, he's a lifelong Wednesday fan. Why wouldn't you want that? For me, it got to be something in the contract and stuff. And we have been known for ages as offering youth team players really either bad deals or we've given them whatever they wanted and then they're still gone. So I don't know if in that sense, do we need to learn how to put good contracts in front of youth team players?
Even if it's as simple as, it could be this. Celtic have currently got bigger prospects than Sheffield Wednesday. That's obvious. I understand the move from that perspective, right? Would you want to play for Sheffield Wednesday or Celtic at the minute? Probably Celtic, right? There's more career opportunities there. However, the whole point for me and the topic around it should be, he shouldn't be playing for us at the minute. If we get any signs that his head's not there, which Stoke would say about it, all this controversy is not going to help him. For me, stick him in the under-23s, focus on the talent coming up and the talent that we can actually get to retain here, right? Rather than develop a player for another club, no offence, Celtic, and then he goes off and we've lost him.
I have seen from some Celtic fans who have gone, they don't understand why he's coming because their youth is jumping ship left, right and centre out of their academy. They lost some big academy players and they said, I don't get why he's not staying at Wednesday because a lot of our youth are going because they're not getting a chance. They're not getting game time. And there's some really good youth team players leaving Celtic. And this whole situation, they quite don't understand why he's going. If you know what I mean.
Your partner's a Celtic fan as well, so you've obviously got the inside track on that one as well.
Oh yeah, that caused a lot of debate in our household this week.
Well, here's the thing. Liam Shaw doesn't deserve any abuse. I can see the perspective from a career move. I draw the line at the fact that I think from a Wednesday perspective, we need to stick him in the 23s and start putting some respect back on this badge. We should not let a 19-year-old player come in and upset the team like this by going to Celtic and signing a pre-contract in February when we're amidst a relegation battle. If we are going to be the club size that we were, and we are going to have the stature that we were, we are not to be held to ransom by a player who is 19, says he's a Wednesday fan, and has played 16 or 17 games. We should not be treating him like a club legend.
It really feels like the whole her situation all over again. Yeah,
and that was a name, you know. And obviously showed the promise, and that was, for me, this one. It seems quieter. I think it'd be better for him to go and play with the 23s and get out the spotlight a little bit. He might have gone on and bagged a hat trick at Birmingham, and if he has, I'm pretty sure we'll have dubbed that in or put a text over this or something. But even so, if he performs for us, unless he is absolutely exceptional for us, I don't want to see him play for the first team when we need fighters and people who are here for the long term, you know? For me, at the minute, it's not the right move. Celtic, you might have a potential decent player on your books if he does live out to those couple of matches we've seen him. He's tall. He seems powerful. He also seems to be but his first touch isn't always the best. I think he needs to work on that. But I reckon you've got a midfielder that could develop into a player there if you've got the right youth set up to bring him through. I just feel like we need to stop giving him all the praise like he's a Wednesday legend when he's gone at the first sniff of interest. That's my bottom line. Whew.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
That was nice.
Let's just talk a little bit more about keeping our youth in general. And we need to be...
Oh, my favourite player name.
We need to be throwing the contract at Urhoghide right now. Urhoghide, okay?
Urhoghide.
You don't have to say it. There you go. Don't try and say it again. Don't try and say it again. We'll go for it.
My one quote, I'm done.
We're sorted. So we need to be throwing the pen and paper at Urhoghide right now, getting him to stay. We've just talked about that whole situation with Liam Shaw. If you don't want it to happen with Urhoghide, who is also not a Wednesday fan, by the way.
No.
So it'd be interesting if we keep Urhoghide, but we lose a Wednesday fan.
That would be interesting. But could it be he doesn't want too much spotlight being a Wednesday fan? That's another idea.
It's also a case of, like, I think Urhoghide's got the aspect of, we don't know what's going to happen with that one. We'll obviously talk about when it develops.
Can I just say about him? How much math has he put on since he came in?
He is a powerful fullback now. Yeah, and he's pacey and he's powerful. And he's and he can dribble. And I'm like, we need to sign. I mean, if any other team's watching this is crap, you don't need to start talking to him.
You know who he reminds me of? Jeremy Hellan.
Yeah, but without the inconsistency, because Urhoghide's starting to put together the consistency, and hopefully that continues.
And they're the name from the pact.
I reckon, Chansiri, you throw a contract at him, it might be a case of the Bannan situation. Obviously, this could change. He could decide that he's off as well. But remember, Urhoghide got released and was grateful to come through our system. If he's still got any of that with us at the minute, we could do with actually capitalising on it and get him to sign the contract now while he's still got some You know,
Bannan,
he still
just give
feels
a
like he owes
nudge.
a little bit to the club.
Just go give a nudge a captain.
Exactly. Captain set the example. Everybody else needs to follow, which is why I think we get players like Shaw out of the squad, because he's not set the example. You know, there's obviously big players that could leave as well, and there's one that we'll speak about when we get to the community topics on that. But that's not our youth situation. We will get to that a little bit later on. But Irigidi should be the priority for Sheffield Wednesday right now, I believe. I don't know if you agree on that one. I think we're both on the same page.
I agree on that. Yeah.
Now, on to a potential transfer. It'll obviously not be a free one, this one. This would be something we looked at in the summer. And are we now football scouts? Is the Talking Wednesday podcast?
Could be, because this has happened a couple of times now.
Are we scouting for Sheffield Wednesday Football Club? Because if you'll remember, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the players that are going to be leaving us and who we think should come in and replace them if we were to look at the lower leagues. Now, we named 3 strikers. One of them was Luke Jeffcott.
Yep.
And the past 5 days have been lit up with us actually being reportedly interested in signing Luke Jeffcott. So, as we said then, he's been scoring goals. He's now scored 16 goals. We'll say around it because he could have bagged a couple more in League One this current season. Plymouth, it's Ryan Lowe also. So that link there, you never know. He said he would be allowed.
He knows what it's like to play at Wednesday when it's full, and he was part of that promotion team. It only goes, you want a fan base that are going to get behind you.
Well, if other clubs are in for him, I'd hope Ryan Lowe would give us the edge. I know he doesn't deal with the finances, but he did say that they want about $3.5 million for him.
Fair, that's nothing.
It is nothing. Plymouth fans are saying that he's worth at least $10 million, and I understand why they'd say that. He's obviously scoring goals for them at the minute. Remember, Medine was a goal scorer, a very good goal scorer in League One. Marriott was the same, Golden Boot winner. They don't always kick on in the Championship, but then you do get your Ivan Tonys.
Yeah.
You know? And that is the gamble you take. And for me, I want to see us doing this. I want to see us looking at players in the lower leagues that are scoring goals and going for that aspect. And sorry, Plymouth, but I want to see us ripping off other clubs for once, because it always happens to us. We always lose our assets. They always leave us on freeze. And I would like...
Look at our 2 biggest transfer people we brought in. Adam Reach, Jordan Rose, both potentially leaving on freeze at the end of the season.
Exactly. We've said that time and time again on this podcast, but $3.5 million would be a steal for somebody who's bagging the goals at that level. I'd say I'd be happy with anything less than 5, especially with the money we've spent on players. If we're willing to spend, and there is a chance that we can spend in summer. Remember, obviously we're going to be hit with the current world situation. Everybody's going to be hit with revenue, things like that. But in terms of the balance sheet for financial fair play, we should be looking a little bit more positively going forward on that front now.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully we can't go mental. And I think for all Chansiri's faults, if he's going to give it another go, which we don't know if he's going to do it again, I reckon he's got a platform to do it a little bit more on the clever side this time.
He may do like season 1 and 2, but be a lot smarter with who comes in. It won't be just random player we've never heard of. It'll be because the one thing Steve Bruce did do, he put a very good scouting team in the building at Wednesday who are now picking up, like Andre Green. They already knew about him because he was at Villa. Granted, we haven't seen enough of him, but he's an exciting prospect.
He's injured.
I know he is. It's typical Wednesday.
He heard about our sick pay. No, but we need to... No, but he does seem to have the right attitude, that young player model,
he does.
That sort of thing. We definitely need to look at players like this. And I think... Please do it Wednesday if you want. I want to see more of him. Also, Plymouth fans that probably find this, if I do decide this is going to be one of the breakouts this week, we've got a lot to talk about. It might not make the cut, but if it did, Plymouth fans, how important is he to you and your club? You know, is he the player that changes games
also,
for you? Do you think he'd cut it in the Championship?
Are they on a promotion push, Plymouth?
Let's have a look.
Because that would change it completely.
You talk about what you've heard about the player for a little while I double check that.
he's a well player and he's very, very talented. And I understand why people are looking at him. But the one thing you don't want to do is see something like Brentford go for him again and do it again, because they're very good at doing this.
Yeah, we need to be the Championship club that jumps in there. We definitely do. Good filler there, Punk. I appreciate that. So, yes, they kind of are, but also it's going to be difficult for them. I reckon the only way we'd get them, they'd probably keep hold of him if they went up, but they're 10th at the minute.
Right.
But it's tight. They aren't the best on the games in hand because the 6th place team has got 26 games played and Plymouth have got 28 and they're 4 points off 6th. So it is tight. They could do a run and get that 6th spot. I've seen that happen. We've done it before as well.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to put a run together. It would only work in Wednesday's favour if they didn't stay up, I think, because you've also got to remember Sunderland are 7th. They're pushing for it.
Yeah.
So you've got
also,
Sunderland, Oxford, Charlton all around them that are competing for that 6th spot currently.
And also remember, League
Amazing.
1 and League 2 are going to want to make as much money as they can because they've had a huge cut in revenue.
Yeah, the one thing that doesn't work in our favour is we can't really offer him loads of money compared to what we would have done. We'd have probably definitely got somebody like this if we went for them, if the salary caps were a thing. But as we spoke about last week, the salary caps have now been scrapped. So there won't be players trying to jump out of that league so often. But it also does mean that we are going to struggle if we get relegated to get a player like that. You know, so I reckon he's going to be looking at Championship either way next season.
Yeah.
So we will have to see how that develops and if he can become a Wednesday player. But that's the model I want to see Wednesday take. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you're on podcast services, just jump over to the YouTube. I spoke a little bit briefly about Jack Marriott in that. And the fact that obviously he was that goal scorer, League One. He's not playing for us at the minute, and he's come back from injury. He obviously went back to Derby, and you said in the document here that it feels like a lone waste that he's not played since the 30th of January in that Preston game.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's coming towards the end of February now, and the Examiner reported, talking to Neil Thompson, Neil said, listen, Jack's not injured, but he's away from the club until next Monday, so that's where we are with that. I've spoken to Jack this week, and he's frustrated about it. It's been a bit stop-start, so make your own deductions about that. We are hopeful that he will be back in training on Monday and be ready to go.
That's cryptic.
It is weird, because it feels like Derby are holding something back here.
Yeah.
Because if Jack's frustrated that he's not at the
playing
club,
and not at the club, what's going on?
Because I know that the regulations and the fact that we're in lockdown and things like that doesn't mean that players can't travel for work, so that's not stopping him coming back. We've obviously had transfers in since lockdown. Transfers is still multiple. But it's a bit cryptic, that one. I'm wondering what the situation is. Are Derby trying to wiggle their way out of a season-long loan deal? Are they looking to kick on now? Or is it a case of the fact that he's still Derby's player, and even though he's saying he's not injured and he's not injured, they want to make sure he's fully clear before he comes back to us? Is that a situation that could be happening?
But they are on good form at the minute. I think they're top of the phone guide at the minute, Derby.
Yeah. So why have they put a run together now when we needed them to? Because it's getting tight at the bottom. We cut a topic talking about the tight nature of the Championship at the minute, but Derby are finding form, Forest are finding form, Wickham are not finding form. Feel a bit sorry for Wickham, but I'm sorry, we need teams to do worse than us. Birmingham are the only other club that are in downfall. Huddersfield Town fans, I had a few of them message me this week going, hey, we might be joining your relegation battle soon.
Yeah,
because
I had very much similar.
Because they've been on a run with no wins in 8, so they could be dragged into all of this. The more people down here, the better. It's not nice down here. Come and join us. Let's liven up the place a little bit.
And the thing is, you look at how tight it is. We go on a little run, we could be out of it, but we don't. We go on little runs and then we play, I don't want to say stupid teams, but teams who are just not performing well.
Be careful on the internet.
It's not.
We play teams where we throw away results that we shouldn't be throwing away. Yeah, we play teams that you would... Because that's the thing. It's the football arrogance, and I fell blind to it. You look at a team on paper, and you look at their recent history and you go, nah.
Yeah.
People do it to us all the time. They don't see us play week in, week out, and we shock them sometimes. Rarely now, but still sometimes. And
to be fair, it's more at the top 6 we tend to shock because we have a really good game against them.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think we need to keep a form run going.
Yeah.
Because
you don't want to run, you're out of it.
No. And also, because that
thing.
links into the fact that we're now going to talk about the manager talk has gone completely quiet. So if we don't go on a run, we are going to be in trouble because it looks like Neil Thompson's here to stay so far. And
there's a lot of managers getting the sack at the minute. I think Bristol City are talking. Is it Bristol City or is it Bournemouth? One of them are talking to Henry at the minute.
That's Bournemouth. So all the talk of the manager has gone a bit flat at the moment. It's been 2 months now, and other clubs are starting to sack their managers, as you said. There are people that will have sounded out that we're not currently looking at because we talked about links with Coleman. They were all legitimate links. They were all supposedly they'd spoken with the club, had dialogue with the club, the right kind of deal.
I do have an interesting one for you on the manager situation.
Go on.
Now, I sometimes tend to put bets on to see if you can do it, right?
Right.
I went to try and put a bet on for Carlos and it got rejected.
Oh, no,
not taking any bets on for Carlos for summer manager.
The betting odds have closed for Sheffield Wednesday, though. So if you put Carlos on for summer and you tried to do this recently, I think they've paid out on Neil Thompson because I tried to find odds for any managers and they've stopped taking bets. So I don't think the Carlos link is there. I found that the main betting odds and the ones where you usually find this sort of stuff, none of them are taking the Sheffield Wednesday position, and a lot of them have just cashed out on Neil Thompson.
The only thing on Carlos, and I'll put it here, it's the one person Chancellor has always said he had a fantastic working relationship with, and Carlos had become a very, very good manager since leaving us. He's had a good run with Braga.
He's also become a man that I could see walking back into here and having a love from 90% of the fans now after the crap we've been through.
But I do have the thing. I am very much against managers who have been at a club and managed it before coming back.
We'll see what happens. We'll do a big topic on Carlos. We'll do a big topic on Carlos at the minute. I just want shortly, because I think it's one that we can go into detail, talk about his history with us. There's sometimes, also, we've obviously got some international breaks to prepare for.
We have, haven't we?
That's when we can talk about things like that and include more of your topics. But I don't want to go into Carlos too much there. I just want to let you know that the manager's situation has gone quiet. A lot of places are reporting that they've cashed in bets on Thompson now because that much time's passed. So they have actually counted him as the full-time manager, even though he's not been announced. That's why he wasn't on amazing odds for a little while, because I think they realised that if that happens, they'll have to cash out. So, we are going to move on to something a little bit less Wednesday related, but everybody is always asking us to talk about the takeover situation. Who would you want to take over Sheffield Wednesday? Things like that. We actually wanted to sidestep a little bit and talk about a takeover that's kind of rocked the news world of football recently. And that's the fact that Sunderland have just been taken over by a 23-year-old, which is obviously quite an age. That's kind of like me. I mean, I'm older than him, just. But, like, it's like taking my FIFA career and thinking, well, you know what? I'm going to buy you a club. Because he is the son of a billionaire that owned Marseille. So let's just read what The Guardian have reported. So The Guardian report that Kirill Louis Dreyfus has become the youngest chairman in English football after he...
Sounds like a Harry Potter character.
Fair play. After his protracted takeover of Sunderland was finally approved by the English Football League on Thursday. The 23-year-old Frenchman is the son of late billionaire Rob, I'm just going to call him good old Rob, the former Marseille owner, and he can look forward to a trip to the director's box at Wembley next month when Sunderland face Tranmere Rovers in the final of the Papa John's Trophy. They're currently pushing for seventh. They're currently seventh and pushing for playoffs, as I said when we mentioned the Plymouth link earlier. But if he knows what he's talking about, and this isn't his son he's basically just bought a toy, which there is a case there. He's obviously got proof of funds, things like that. Then again, you look at Bury, you look at Bolton, you look at Wigan, you look at proof of funds aren't always a thing.
Well, I'm going to say the Wigan one was, I think, the last time it was a young owner. I think it was David Whelan's grandson, if I want to remember.
Well, I just think, I looked at this, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make the joke. I can't wait for the documentary. Like, I was like, I really hope they've still got the cameras going,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it goes from the guy who overpaid on Will Grigg. It's a great documentary, that, by the way. They need to do more inside of football club things. But they go from that to a 23-year-old who I hope, and I'm telling you this from experience with Chansiri, I hope he's got a good advisor team around him, and I hope he's got the links. The positive thing is, Chansiri came from not football.
Yeah.
So there's a potential that Sunderland have got somebody who's got more credible links to football with his dad owning Marseille than our owner has.
It's that thing you got where you could have the whole situation where he's 23, but there might have been somebody who looked after him when he was 16 who was helping Marseille. He was in the club ground kicking a football around kind of thing while waiting or something. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Having that experience will be interesting.
It is. It's obviously raised a few eyebrows at the age, and we brought this in because you're like, well, you can see that all ages and all backgrounds can take over. This is just a money background. Okay,
it's also annoyed Derby fans no end because they can't get their takeover over the line.
Yeah, what's going on with the Derby situation?
So Derby's takeover, they all now don't think it's happening. Now apparently they've got some Americans waiting in the wing to go, but we're apparently still waiting to see what's going on with this Arab that was meant to take them over. Bear in mind, this is the same person who tried to take Newcastle over, and that didn't work. So it makes me wonder if the bloke's actually got any funds.
It was a Saudi consortium, wasn't it, that was trying to take over Man City? No, if it's that, well, the EFL and the Premier League are separate governing bodies, so if it doesn't necessarily mean one owner will get sanctioned by the Premier League and one gets sanctioned. There was a lot of rumours that people were trying to just make sure that Newcastle weren't going to be the next Man City, which there could be some truth behind that. But I'm not overlooking the fact that human rights issues are a massive thing that need taken into account. Yep. So if that is the main thing that got blocked on, it needs to happen in the EFL as well. If that is the people that are trying to take over Derby, but I can't speak too much on that one because I don't know. I've left that to yourself because obviously you know more about that.
All I pretty much know. I know a Derby fan and she's very passionate about it, and for a while she's like, the takeover's happening, and then she's like,
well, for me, the Sunderland takeover's happened, but there's clearly the fact that he's the son of a late billionaire that owned Marseille. For me, that's an easier background check, and a credibility check to do, because even though he's 23 and yes, there's going to be some eyebrows there, he's probably still got the structure and the teams that will have worked with his dad and things like that. So I can see that could take off. I'm going to be interested in watching Sunderland.
And I'm also, if I think I've read it right, I think some of his money is in a trust. So he can't actually go ham on it. He'll have to have people saying what he can and cannot do with it, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough. No, that's an interesting...
Which, to be fair, a 23-year-old with that kind of money, I think is a smart idea.
Very smart. And let's go into your community topics this week. I posted these quite late because we pushed the podcast forward, and I forgot, to be honest. So apologies on that one. I'll just be straight up with you. But you guys came to you, Wade. You find the community tab this week, and we got some questions in. I am obviously, if I ignore don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I do read them all. I just try and bank them for when we've got international breaks. If there's something that isn't fit right for this week, but could be right when we're trying to make an episode out of your topics. The first one is from Captain Nat, YouTube sub, over in the community tab. Your favorite Wednesday player of all time.
Oh, that's easy for me.
Go on then.
Kevin Pressman.
Fair play.
I am a big fan of Kevin Pressman because there was stuff that man, when diving for a thing, we were thinking he shouldn't be able to, because he was a big goalkeeper. Let's be fair. And some of the kit they had back in the day for Kevin Pressman they'd make your eye cry, they were that bright. But he was always a very, very good player, and he was just solid. I was gutted when he went because we didn't really have a goalkeeping structure back then for who was going to replace him. And Kevin Pressman was just awesome.
Well, for me, obviously, the best keeper I've seen is Kieran Westwood, and he's still playing. So, for me, that I've seen a lot of Wednesday keepers, but the ones that I want to say in recent memory, because there is a few years between you and me. we won't obviously we don't go into personal details on the internet, but like there is a few years and there's a generational gap of Wednesday there slightly. Don't know what just happened to my voice. I turned slightly robotic, but for me, and it's going to shock a lot of people, and I have thought about this long and hard because I've got some League One heroes and things like that, but I have to take the player that I think, like, for my time of watching Wednesday brought me the most enjoyment and you know, we could have actually seen the big time, and it's a recent player and he still plays for us, and you're going to be like, what? And it's Barry Bannan.
No, that's fair enough.
Because you could have gone for Forestieri, but the ending of Forestieri soured me so much, right? And he was a player that excited me. Michail Antonio was a big one there, but his ending even was sour with Wednesday, and it was in the decline. Barry Bannan is, for me, loyalty's a massive thing, and also on his day he's absolutely unplayable. He was part of the team that got us to a final and a semi-playoff. You got to remember the highlight for my Wednesday life, and a lot of you guys in the comment section, like a lot of my family who watched the success of us League Cup winners and things like that. I didn't have any of that. I had 2005.
Yep.
Was my first big success, right, at Cardiff.
Wait for mine.
I was a young'un, and I remember that day, and it just being everybody was bigger than me because I was still a young'un back then. And then obviously the League One promotion season. My highest points of a Wednesday fan has been on, and this is the sad thing. There's generations like this, and this is when we talk about loyalty of players and the short-term memories. That team were the closest to the big time for me.
Can I make a special mention on mine for one player as well?
Go for
Neil
it.
Mellor. Neil Mellor, when he was in League One, I was gutted we couldn't sign me on a permanent contract because he would have just been perfect.
I know a lot of people will be shouting Jose Semedo as well, but this is an opinion piece, by the way. They'd be like, oh, why is it Bannan and not Semedo? For me, it's just Bannan, and the fact that he has signed a new contract when we're in a relegation battle admires everything I want. A quality player, could play for... At the time, we were doing him a favour, but when the time calls for it and we need a player of his quality, when he could go to a better club, he's just signed a new deal. That actually I could have probably gone elsewhere for my favourite player, but that's actually even pulled him back into it.
And also, what's not in the show notes that was in the show notes, there was an article the day before, and I did a video on it about him saying it was, in principle, there was a deal, and then the next day they announced it.
Yeah.
And that got a lot of people thinking, oh, is he actually going to be here or is he waiting? But then when it came out and he said, now I'm staying, it's like, oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, and they saw a lot of threads going, oh, he's just going to be off. It's a deal in principle. He hasn't done anything. He's going to be off. And I was like, well, yes, he might even have a relegation release clause, but I don't even... There is, obviously, we've got to mention, I actually think he could have that in there, but my heart's kind of saying that it doesn't make sense. I don't think Chansiri is the guy that would put a relegation release clause in there, unless it's a couple of million, which could be a thing, and that's a clever bit of business, because if we do get relegated,
but
you ship Bannon's wages off and you get a couple of million for him.
But could that also be Barry Bannan also putting some thought to it as well, going, well, if I am going to go, I want you to get some money for me so you can try and improve the club.
Yeah. No, I don't mind players putting relegation release clauses in when we're in a relegation battle. If it's their way of
I hate it when they do it on FIFA or Football Manager. They can go to hell.
When they can, yeah, exactly. But if they go, I obviously want to play at this level. If a club can come in and get you a good deal, I don't want to leave you on a free. I want to fight it out, but know that there's a backup there for me for my career. I wouldn't be as mad with that, right? Also, can I just say, I wouldn't have been mad if Liam Shaw did that.
Yeah.
If he'd have put a relegation release clause in.
Can you imagine it? And I don't want to imagine it, and I'm just saying this now, but if we were in League One, can you imagine Barry Bannan in League One? How good he would just look.
He would rip it apart, yeah.
But we don't want to talk about that because we're going to stay in the Championship.
Well... It's the hope that kills you. Right, so the next topic, thank you for that, Captain Nat, was from DWeb086 over on the Talking Wednesday Twitter. Please go follow us. We might start doing a few giveaways over there. I was thinking this because we are crap at our Twitter following, right? We need to build our Twitter following. I've seen other Wednesday pages do it. I'm not going to be that active on the Twitter where I'm going to drag everything, clip everything out, because our main community is here. But there is a tremendous amount of people, footballers, ex-Wednesday footballers and stuff, that look at your follow account and they don't even bother if you're not like one of the ones that's got... Yeah. And there is other like Wednesday stuff that's got... They've been there a while and they've shared loads of different Wednesday stuff and they're always communicating with... And that's where they got their community, not YouTube. But you can't really... It's hard to go to a player and go on Twitter, do you want to come on? Do you want to talk about this, and this?
To be fair, I had this.
We don't need to go down that route, in fairness. We're doing well without it.
To be fair, I did have a situation like this recently. So.
Yeah, but you can get that, and then they're like, well, you've got like, 50 Summit subs. And I'm like, yeah, because we built one for the podcast and we don't really use it. Yeah. Just look, I've got like, we've done like 40k views in the last 5 episodes. Will you just come on the podcast? But yes, Webbo came across and went, who's the best striker we've had since 2000? Likes of McLean, Medine, Tudgay, Hooper, Forestieri, Antonio. For me, it's Hooper. Forestieri was great, absolute live wire, but as a striker,
it's Hooper. It's
Hooper.
Personal one, I did like the link-up play between Tudgay and Burton. I thought they had a really good link-up. And if you want one as a random one, even though he was injured half the time, when he did play, Akpo Soji on his day was actually very good.
Well, for me, attacking players, it's hard between Forestieri and Antonio. Yeah, Antonio's obviously an absolute beast now, and he is a striker now in the Prem. But as an actual out-and-out striker, it's pretty simple for me off that list. It's Hooper.
Yeah.
Special mention for Steve McLean, because I did like Steve McLean. Important goals as well.
And to be fair, let's have a little special mention for bloody hell,
Stevie May.
No, God, no.
Sorry, Stevie. It's because we mentioned Steve McLean and they've played together, obviously.
No, my other one is, it's a little mention for Atty. He wasn't prolific, but he worked his butt off.
Oh, you can't put him on the list of best strikers, though. Bless him. Also, can I just say that, I was buzzing when we signed Stevie May, and then it just wasn't the right fit for the club.
So was I. I've got a story to tell you off stream about that, actually.
Please do. Right. So, last topic. Thank you very much, D-Webo, for that, mate. Would really like to know what you guys think, if you guys think Reach will stay at the club. Other than the Wickham game, I noticed that he doesn't seem to be happy playing for us. I could totally be wrong, but I think he could leave the club for higher in the Championship or one of the Scottish Giants. Apparently Celtic are taking our entire team now. That's from Jacob Hussain. Well. That's from Jacob Hussain over in the YouTube community tab. Obviously, we will try and focus on the community as much as possible. We have spoke a little bit about Reach down in tools, but I thought it's worth mentioning that we only saw a smile on his face at Wickham.
Yeah.
We've taken it off the back of a poor Stoke result. If I'm looking at players that I really don't think are going to sign a contract at Wednesday, and I wouldn't be that, this is the difference, right? I don't blame Reach.
No.
And I know that might be like, well, why are you giving Shaw stick? And not, I'd be like, because Reach has been there and he's seen out a big contract with us. He was there during. I don't know if he was the first push. Was he the second push?
Was he the second push we got him on?
Because he came to us in 2016, so it was the.
It was the shirt with the pin, right? The like butcher pinny.
Yeah, let's have a look. So, just looking at the old Wikipedia.
To be fair, he have been linked with Rangers and Celtic, which would be very interesting.
On the 31st of August 2016, Reach signed a 3-year contract with Wednesday for an undisclosed fee reported to be $5 million. But 7 million was what we heard. So, was it 5 or was it 7? Wikipedia, please tell us. Is that the season? Is that the... Yeah,
that's the season we got Jordan Rhodes.
Yeah,
and
that was the season where actually we finished 4th. We played that season. We actually finished higher than the playoff final, but we just didn't turn up in the semis. And
to be honest with you, the season where our downfall actually happened, the typical Wednesday was our 150th season anniversary season.
It was. Sorry, I keep moving into the camera. It keeps focusing on my hat. and I keep having to change it if you're a video watcher. I'm sure it's annoyed you at certain points, but the focus pull keeps thinking this is my face, and it keeps pulling the focus. But yeah, Reach, he has been with us obviously since 2016. That's 5 years. So he must have signed a contract. He signed a 2-year contract extension at some point, didn't he? And it was great news for us. I'd like to see him stick around, but he's probably one of the bigger earners. And I think he's only 28. So he needs to make the decision now.
Yeah.
If he's at the peak, he's going to go on and give it one last go with someone. If he stays with Wednesday, good old Adam Michael Reach, the 6'1" right winger.
Is he 6'1"?
Apparently, this is what Wikipedia is saying. I reckon he will be off, and I don't blame him for it because he's given 5 years to the club. And at 20, this is the difference. At 28, if you're leaving on a free and the club aren't in the position where you want him to be, yes, he's probably not been the most consistent player. He's had some good moments with us. He could have left the first time his contract was up, took another contract.
I think the only annoying thing for us is that it's our second highest fee we paid for a player, and it's going on a free. That's the only downside out of all of it I can say. To be fair, he's been, whenever he played, his best season was when we had Josh Lukai, when he was just had his own goal of the season and goal of the month competition pretty week in, week out.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a bit weird for me, but on kind of a strange one, he's a metalhead. You don't get many metalhead footballers.
No, that is true. That is really true.
You don't get many metalhead footballers. And I've seen him at gigs before, and it's so nice to see the footballer go, I'm a footballer, and his limbs just going everywhere.
No, I think Adam, I wouldn't blame him as much as I've blamed some players in the past. But I don't think he's signing a new contract. But if he does,
brilliant.
We will discuss it, obviously, and it would be good to see. Right, last bit. Thank you for all your community topics. Keep them coming. They help the show. Get your guys' input, and we love hearing from you, and we love talking about what you guys want us to talk about. Oh, God, games. We're going to go to upcoming fixtures, and this week is a bit rough.
For God's sake.
This week is rough.
What the hell is that? Jesus.
On Wednesday, we've got Brentford. At Brentford as well, we're away. We're away both times this week. Oh, God. Wednesday, 7 o'clock, we play Brentford. And then on Saturday, we go to Luton.
Oh, Jesus.
God.
And then I've just seen what the game is after that.
Yeah, forget those. The 2 games after that are not good either. We'll talk about that next week. But this is going to be a rough couple of weeks.
And this is before we played Birmingham recording this, so we don't know what we've done there.
Yeah, we could have got away with that one on this part. But yeah, we're on a run of Brentford, who are obviously pushing for promotion, and Luton Town, who have been a bit of one of the surprises for me this season, especially, and a lot of people, like, the team that everybody who thought they could beat on paper, thought they were destined for the drop, just because of their recent history, another one of those, but they are solidly 15th, 37 points. Technically, they could get pulled back down into this scrap.
I think they've got enough to stay out.
But I think they've got way enough to sort of stay in that sort of top 16, 17 run.
It'll be an interesting game for them at the weekend.
Brentford are second.
Second?
Yeah.
Oh, but then again, Brentford is that kind of team. Will go up and
Swansea,
do a really good job.
They're technically third if you look at it, because and they could be by the time you're watching this, because Swansea have got 2 games in hand. And
also,
they're only a point
remember,
behind.
We haven't played Swansea yet because we had our game called off.
Yeah, let's forget that part, because that's even worse as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brentford, second, third in the league. They're going to be a rough one. They are obviously looking for the automatics. They're fighting it out with Norwich and Swansea, so we do well against the top end of the table. That's the only positive.
Didn't Tony rip us apart last time we played them?
We didn't. We lost 2-1. Oh my God!
What?
Am I really thick? Because I could be really thick. There is a chance I'm really thick, but do fixtures always go in the same? They don't, do they? They don't go in the same order. Because in October, we had Brentford, Luton, then Rotherham. And now we've got Brentford, Luton, then Rotherham. That doesn't always happen.
No.
I'm not being thick, no. But yeah, for the record, we lost all those games. No, Birmingham, Brentford, Luton, Rotherham, those 4 fixtures.
They're
the same run. It's the same run.
Nice.
And can I just say, this run last time was a 2-1 loss, a 1-0 loss, and a 3-0 loss.
Oh, that was the infamous drone at Rotherham, which stopped the game. Yes.
Also, mid-start red cards.
Oh, God,
our red card, a game thing. So, Brentford's going to be tough, but we do perform against teams at the top end of the table. So, maybe if it gets some televised action, I don't know if it is. It's probably not, actually, but we will see. It might be one of those things. With Luton Town, Luton Town are a very unpredictable side to play. I couldn't see that either way. Really, I'd be slightly concerned about it because I thought probably naively last time that on paper we had enough, and we did because we started to turn it around. We beat Birmingham, we lost to Brentford, but it was a close enough game. We thought Luton's going to be the one to turn around, and then we got a stupid red card, and they got a goal. Yeah, and it was one of those that was not a great match at all. And then we went on to lose to Rotherham, and I realised that actually that Luton game wasn't a fluke because we lost to Rotherham, then Wickham, and then we didn't win again until Bournemouth, and then we just went on another losing streak. So it's going to be a rough week. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get... I don't want to make predictions on that. I can't. I genuinely can't make predictions on that. I think also, if you're looking for Dexterity Watch stuff, if you're an audio listener and you pop in, I'll probably be reviewing it, and we will be recording the podcast on Saturday evening. However, the day of the Luton match, I think I've got some work stuff to do, so I don't think I'll be around for that one. So just scheduling updates. I'll keep you all updated in the community tab. If I'm not doing Luton, I'll do the Brentford one, and we can watch me get battered on that one. So we will see.
Shush! You did this when we had Millwall. Shush! We're going to be fine.
It's going to be all right. But yeah, I'm not optimistic. I hope you guys are a little bit more optimistic than us. Yeah. Then on a positive,
Barry Bannan signed a new deal.
Yeah. Let's go with that one. But yeah, you got any closing thoughts today, Punk, before we wrap it all up?
Just the usual, take care of yourself and be smart with your decisions you make, or you got to make them.
Definitely. Thank you so much for the support on the podcast. Thank you very much for listening this week. Take care of you and yours. And we will see you right here this time next week, Sundays at 12 on the Talking Wednesday podcast.
See ya.